Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Cinnamon Chat with Amita, Sri Lanka's first LinkedIn live talk show. And you know what? This is what I love my audience. Here I'm getting a message saying, Amita, you are muted. That's what we heard mostly in year 2020. Thank you very much. So I've been running this talk show for 1 year, and this is the second year. We are going to start another year and have a great amount of work, bringing uh, great people to share their experience, share their knowledge with you. So, talking about myself, I'm a CEO coach, I'm a personal biologist, and I'm also a sales performance evangelist. I hope there was a little glitch. I sincerely hope that you can see me. Hopefully, maybe it is the network. Yeah. So, let me introduce today's expert without much of details with these technical difficulties. What are we going to talk about today? We are talking about digital transformation as a country. We are talking about a nation which is moving towards digital transformation. We are talking about organizations moving into a digital transformation and an era full of digital things. We hear a lot of discussions, but we also want to implement things, especially when it comes to small organizations, medium organizations. They have this question: what do we do in order to transform our organizations digitally? So, even though today's discussion is not 100% digital transformation, without this particular area of work, it would be very difficult to transform an organization digitally. So I thought I would bring an expert to talk about automation. We hear this word along with the word digital transformation, the term digital transformation, automation. Of course, if you ask me what I felt or what I knew when it comes to automation, I knew automatic gearboxes, cars with automatic transmission. This is what we knew. But today, small and medium organizations and large corporations are talking about much more complicated, much more complex automation projects. But should automation be that complex? What can automation do to our business? So I have a very special guest. Let me bring him on stage. We have Sajivan. Hi, Sajivan. Good
Hi,
evening.
Amta. How are you? Good evening. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me in your show.
yes. Suddenly there was a little technical glitch.
Yeah,
I thought that I was gone. No, to see I'm still here. You can see
abs-
me, right? Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah. So, Sajivan, I mean, I know you are a top rated, most sought after automation consultant, right?
Thank you for that.
Even though, yeah, it is. And even though it is not so visible and known among the ordinary people in the industry, you are well known as an automation consultant. But then I'm going to break it down today and try to
Okay.
understand in layman's language what is this automation all about. But before
Yeah.
that, let's talk about you. I don't know whether you were learning automation at school. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What were you doing during your school time? Your younger life.
So at school, I was still grade five. I didn't have any idea about what computer is. So I was focused on my studies. So as usual, they push you to study. So when I became one of the top 10 in scholarship for Tamil medium in Mathale, where I was studying, they gave me a scholarship at a computer training organization to learn, MS DOS. So that's where this started. So the first command I typed for cdtt enter ttexe, that is typing tutor. So that's where everything started. And then after scholarship, I moved to Canby. In Mathali, I studied at Parkin National College. That's up to grade 5. And then I moved to Kandy to Ranabima Royal College. That's where I started for grade 6 and then up to A level. So in grade 6, we actually had a computer lab at school. Those days you had to enter the lab, removing the shoes, and you had to enter with the socks. You learn basic D base, and then in between time, you beg the teacher and get some games done. So that's because of that, I took all the opportunities to enter the lab and then learn anything and everything as much as possible. I did maths in A levels, but I couldn't go to university. So then I started to go into the industry in terms of IT jobs.
Okay, brilliant. So you were one of those lucky ones to enter a school computer lab and to touch
Yeah,
and then, medal. I mean, there are
exactly.
schools even as at today who don't have computers. Not
Yes,
forget about
that's
labs. Yeah.
yeah,
So we
exactly.
still have digital divide. Yeah.
I
Okay.
agree.
So once when you completed your school education, so I
Yeah.
can see that you have already fallen in love with computers. Then what happened?
So one of the reasons that I couldn't enter university through A level is that most of my time was spent in IT and learning. So that's a contributor. Then I went since I couldn't go to the university, so I started doing BCS at ESOFT, and also I got a job. My first job was instructor at a boys' home at a church.
Okay.
So that's where I started to teach this ones, and then I worked in one of my friends' computer shops, assembling new computers, fixing broken ones, in between learning all that stuff. But it's a tons of learning. And then I got an opportunity to work at ESOP because I learned at ESOP Candy, the BCS, and then they offered me a job to join as a tutor. There I worked for 5 years. I started as a tutor, exited as a program manager, and then I went into the industry with the experience I had. Plus, I got all the resources to learn and experiment inside the 5 years I had at ESOP. So during that time, I certified in Microsoft Enterprise Administration, and then parallelly, I was doing web development. That web development and software engineering actually paved the path for where I am right now.
Amazing. So, uh, so if your kids are meddling with computers, hardware,
Yeah.
allow it, right?
Oh yes, give them. Let them learn
Okay.
it.
Yeah, because nothing like self-learning. You want to say something about self-learning?
So self-learning is all about this. Now, ironically, even though currently I'm a CIO of education institution, it's very hard for me to sit and listen to a lecture. It's very ironic, right? But self-learning for me is all about you will always hit barriers, because anyway you are going into something with a lot of unknown parameters, and then you go and hit a wall, and then you try to solve the problem. That problem solving skill will permanently burn in your brain. Then whenever you get a similar problem, okay, I had this issue, I can solve this by applying this particular solution that I had before into this, and with some additional stuff that I can solve this problem. So that's what self-learning brings to me. At least there will be different types of people in learning, different way of learning, but for me self-learning is the most efficient way of doing things. So most of the
Yeah.
stuff that I do right now is actually learned on the job across the last 13 years.
Yeah, I think what you say is mostly true for today,
Yeah,
where with the pandemic, the ability to go to a classroom and then accessibility to maybe top-rated teachers, sometimes network issues,
yeah,
uh, I mean, even financial
yes,
difficulties for somebody.
yeah,
And then thanks to internet, if you really want to learn on your own, things are available. Yeah,
yeah.
resources are
It is.
available.
It is.
Okay, brilliant. So You want to talk a little bit about your corporate journey or your uh, career journey?
Career journey. So since ESOP has paved the way for my career start, once I leave ESOP, I actually started freelancing. So currently, I'm actually few projects away to complete my 100th project through the last 13 years as an individual consultant. So that within that journey, so I actually met a lot of people, Sri Lankans, and then people around the world. Mostly, I worked with the US, UK, Australia, Japan, Bahrain, and a lot of cultures, Egypt, Philippines. So at a point that I had a company which had no office. There's absolutely zero physical for office, but we had people all over the world from US, Egypt, Philippines, India, Sri Lanka, everywhere. So you get to learn and collaborate with all these people, and then you get these different types of ideas that actually improve your professional career. So for the last 13 years, I have actually met quite a lot of people, did a lot of projects in automation, helped a lot of companies take their processes to another level. It varies from small to medium enterprises and then large enterprises depending on the project that we worked on. But every single project, I really love doing it because what I do is what I love to do. So it's always been fun and tons of learning.
Okay, so you would have been doing so many things,
Mm.
but you have specialized automation.
Yeah,
Before I ask you this question of what is automation, I would
yeah,
like to ask you this question. When did you fall in love with automation, or when did you felt, when did you feel rather? When did you
yeah,
feel that okay, automation is for me?
yeah.
I'm automation person. When did you feel that?
So that actually came when I was working for a Australian firm full time. It was a marketing firm. So most of the people there are operational and marketing stuff, but I was the only developer. So whenever they wanted to do automation, they come to me, and the owner of that what do you call the company named Cameron is a very nice person, and he's bogged down. He's actually bogged down into his work to automate everything that he has so that he can save time. So every single crazy idea that he comes up with, I am the person that has to implement it, right? But when we work together, when we do all this pair programming and then planning these architectures and then doing all this automation work, it felt very natural, right? Even if I work, sometimes there was one time I was working around 36 hours straight to get a project up and running in a quick environment. But that did not feel like work. That did not feel like that I'm doing a work for earning or something like that. It felt very natural. And the end result, every time that you get when you run that first script or first automation workflow, when it starts and goes to the end, that satisfaction is something else. You have to feel it. Then only I realized, okay, this is the field that I should go. It feels very real. It's very natural for me, so that I'll go into this.
Okay, uh, great. I'm still thinking, okay, how can you run an office without any people, but then everything is automated, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
I want to dig it for the benefit of our audience,
So
right?
that,
So
yeah,
we have Usman. Hi, Usman. Good evening. Thank you very
I
much
run.
for joining. Yeah. So now you are going to break this down in
Okay,
layman's
that's good.
language.
Okay.
What is automation, please?
For me, if you want to explain it to anyone, that automation is anything that can save time, improve efficiency and accuracy. So the end goal of any automation is all about, the first thing is it saves time, and at the same time it should increase the efficiency of anything that you are doing, error free. So anything and every activity that can fulfill this criteria can come into automation. So
Okay.
yeah,
So now we learn,
yeah,
going back to school,
yeah,
time is money,
yeah.
time is
It is.
gold. Yeah,
It
time
is.
is money. So it saves time. So naturally, saving time means saving money.
Of course. Yes.
And then
Yeah.
when it comes to accuracy, if anything is not accurate,
Yeah.
you'll have to go back and correct it.
Yes.
Or you could be in trouble. Customers could be unhappy. Maybe the Inland Revenue Department would be unhappy. The
Yeah.
bank would be unhappy because numbers are not matching. So
Yes.
automation could save those unnecessary troubles when it comes to
Yes.
accuracy.
Yes. So any
Okay.
activity that can actually fulfill that criteria will fall under automation. It can be a small activity or a very large scale workflow, anything and everything that can actually save you time, makes you high efficient, error free is automation.
Okay. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
I want a more simplified answer, right?
Okay. Right.
Take a shop
Okay.
where they sell dresses.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But
Hmm.
imagine they have a small computer system,
Right.
right? You have a invoicing and all that.
Hmm.
Can they use automation?
They can use automation. They can use automation. So for a small shop, in a case if they're doing invoicing, right? Mostly naturally they will start with a manual invoice. A customer comes in, you sell the product, and then you write it on a paper, and then you issue the bill. At the end of the month, you just collect the bills and try to do the finances, and
Yeah.
then suddenly you realize, okay, this is wasting my time. I want to sell more, but I'm sitting here doing this for hours every month, probably the last week of the month. I don't want this. And that's where the need is created, right?
Wait a
And
minute.
then,
I
yeah,
can hire somebody and give it to him.
exactly. But still, and then when he's doing, then you want to get data of what's happening, right?
Yes.
And then that's in all those manual receipts and everything, and you have to compile it, make sense out of it, and have to make business decision out of it. You might do it for 2 or 3 months. Fourth month, the need will be automatically created, right? Now I need to save my time. That's where the automation comes in. So they can actually start with Excel sheet. Okay, let me start with an Excel sheet and then fill that information there, so they can do some basic analytics out of it. And then the more they grow, the more need will be created to save time. So then they can go into a POS system where they can actually put some inputs and then create a receipt, give it to the customer, save that 5 minutes, right? So I'll give you a good example. When I was doing the e-commerce company, the first when we started, the system was in a way that it's a single order system, right? So it
Yeah.
was connected to internet, and it was connect. The same thing was used by the in-store people. So what happened was, since it was a single order system, now you are a customer coming there for 20 products, right? Now the salesperson has to go to each and every product, place order on behalf of you, repeating everything. So one order with about 10, what do you call, line
Items,
items
line
will
items.
take about 20 to 30 minutes to complete, right? So think about, you are running a promotion, right? Suddenly you have an influx of people coming into your store. Now there's a queue. So what we did was, okay, we did a middleman system to take everything and then read all the available products, just put ticks and quantities, save that order and generate the receipt. So now that 30 minutes have come down to 3 minutes or 5 minutes. That's a
Okay.
massive saving in terms
Of
of
course.
being able to serve more customers.
Yeah.
That's how
So,
any business can do this.
yeah. So, uh, what can I say? Automation
Yeah.
can help a
Yeah.
business scale
Mhm.
without having to scale in the cost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant.
Sales will solve everything.
Yeah, I know. Right. So that we were talking about a shop, right? A
Yeah.
physical shop, how
Yeah.
automation could be applied to a physical shop. But
Yes.
the problem is sometimes you really don't know
Uh-huh.
whether you need automation. How can you take automation? Who should be advising on automation? Stuff like that. We'll talk
Yeah.
about it when we come there, right?
Yeah.
I have some
Definitely.
advanced questions for you. So
Definitely.
we have a questions.
Yeah.
Asanka, what is your opinion about automation for non-tech people?
Okay. Just let
Do you
me
see
do like UI path enough or not.
enough
Okay.
or not?
So Automation for non-tech people is currently is becoming a very debated topic, and also a lot of tools are being created under the term of no code tools. So UiPath is something. It's a robotic process automation tool, and there is a growing trend of no code tools available on the internet. So if you know, for the non-tech people, now they don't have to worry about the nitty-gritty technical aspects of getting into automation. But for the non-tech people, not only non-tech people, tech, non-tech, anyone, they have to design their process first before going into automation, because any tech tool is a facilitator. Technology is always a facilitator to run businesses efficiently. And unless you are 100% tech driven, or you are a SaaS tool, or you are a tech company, non-tech companies, technology is a facilitator. To facilitate that particular business, the business processes has to be designed and clearly defined, so that the automation tools can come in, take over, and save time. So for
Okay.
non-tech people, yes, there are enough tools to be done, but anyone has to design their processes clearly so that those tools can facilitate that.
Okay. So what you say is most important part, the first item is
Yeah.
defining the process.
Yes, definitely.
Then use the tech to do the rest, automate
Do the
the
rest.
whole
Yes.
process. Okay.
Because it's a myth that a lot of people have, that, okay, we have this technology, this is going to save my problem. It's not. Technology is always a facilitator.
Okay. So my next question. Now, I actually wanted to ask you, why do people consider you as a top-rated uh, automation consultant? You wanna, I know, I mean, your answers are telling me why you are an expert. But then, other than that, you said you have completed almost 100 probably
Yeah.
medium to large scale projects
Yes.
involving maybe local and foreign. Uh, like, how do you become an expert,
Uh,
automation expert?
so it's thank you for that question. So it's sometimes I also wonder, but I think it's because if you come to me as a business owner, if you tell me a problem, because of that, I have worked with multiple disciplinaries or multiple industries in the across this time period. I can understand your end goal, rather going into a very detailed, descriptive, meetings or descriptive process or effort. If you tell me something, I I think this is my opinion. I think I am able to understand where you are going with it, your end goal. So when the during the first meeting, I think that gives the impression to my clients, and also when working with them. So the efficiency and speed that we take to implement solution for those problems might, you know, mm, might have contributed to this, because I have 100% completion and 5-star rating probably around 99% of my projects.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you very much. And now I know, I mean, based on your answers, we see why people consider you an expert. So we have a friend again, uh, someone into digital transformation and
Yeah.
into process automation. Good session, Amit and Sajeevan.
Thank you very much.
And his question: how have you tackled the employee resistance to change when it comes to automation? I would say, Suraji, to start with, forget about automation. Human nature is resisting change, but then Suraji's question is specific.
Yeah.
How have you tackled, because you have worked in many projects?
Yes. Yeah. So that's actually a good question. Now, uh, every project when we start with process automation, most of the time in people's mind, it has a it's a myth actually. People think that it's going to take away their jobs. So that's the first thing that they get scared of. But the reality is, a lot of people are creative. People are born creative. They are creative in their own manner, But sometimes when we do jobs that are very, repetitive and mundane, say you start at 9 o'clock, finish at 5 o'clock, but you have a certain set of, a cycle to go through. Sometimes people do not have the free mind to think. That will reduce their creativity. But when you in my case, I try to explain it in a very simple terms, and the rest of the resistance, that will actually reduce about 50%, then there will be another 50% of resistance. But when they see the first result, that is actually that's actually benefiting them, then people get hooked.
Mhm.
So there was a time that I will come to the example, but I'll show that. I'll give you a very small what do you call example of what we did here at ESOP. Now currently I'm working as a CIO of ESOP. So when we were building the finance system around 2 years back, the time taken to process payroll at every month is 2 days for that executive, right? But she was actually when we are doing the finance system, she is the one who's actually
Doing it.
pushing us to giving us feedback. "Hey, this is taking a lot of time. This is taking a lot of time for me. So since you are implementing this automation, how can you help me?" Right? So will I if everything is automated, will I lose this job? Right? So those are problems, right?
Yeah,
So
these are real life problems.
real life problem. So what we did, we reduced that 2 day process to 10-second button click. The entire process. I'll explain later on how we did that. Now that the entire account department is hooked onto that system, right? Now we have taken out the mundane work out of them. So now they have free mind to think. Now they are focusing their effort on monitoring rather than entering data and then checking for accuracy whether they did it right, double checking, triple checking, getting all the updates to the system again and doing processing. All that is gone, right? 2 days of work is gone.
Did
Now
I
they are
lose you?
focusing then what do you call
Sajivan, I don't know
yeah,
whether
thank you.
I lost you
I
or
lost you
whether,
also. Where did I lose you? Sorry.
yeah, I don't know whether it was my network or whether it was your network. Could be mine,
No,
could be mine.
could both of us. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think so that instance, now the entire account department is hooked into the finance system. Now they are giving us inputs. Okay, you can automate this in this way so that this will save us this much of time. So you need to give that experience first, so that you need to show them, okay, this is not going to make you lose your job, but it's going to improve your efficiency. You will have enough time to think and do your job better. So that's what we have to educate these users, and we need to give the first taste of how this is going to improve their life. Then they will get hooked.
Yeah, I like the fact that uh, you are born creative, but
Yeah.
uh, but the fact that you are stuck with the same routine job is making you less creative. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
moment you remove all those unnecessary repetitive tasks, you have
Yeah.
freedom to think, freedom to be creative. That's the power of automation. Yeah.
Yes.
And sad to see in today's business context, I think this is still a secret. People do not know that automation could save their business.
Yeah.
Now,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I know. So you're also partially responsible. No, not to take you to the, not to take it to the masses. Okay, we have Asanka. Asanka says we didn't lose you. Okay,
Cool.
Asanka, thank you very much for
Awesome.
the
Thank you
feedback.
very much.
This is awesome. This is helping us, right?
Yeah.
So, uh, my next question:
Yeah.
are only IT related organizations uh, like eligible, or can they do things better? What if it is not a what if it is a non-IT organization, but then they want to go for automation?
Yeah. So IT companies anyway naturally they will go toward automation because they have all their tools at their disposal, right? But
Okay.
non-IT companies actually, when you look at it, non-tech companies are the one who need the automation the most
Okay.
than the IT companies because the non-IT company most of the time they are powered by because they are powered by people.
Yeah.
The people take over a lot of the weight of the companies and processes and all what they do. So when implementing automation, just like I said, we can make the lives of those people better, and they can make that environment error free, and they can make that environment efficient. And ultimately, the ultimate goal, it will save a lot of time for the business so that they can serve more with that saved time. So
Okay.
non-IT, non-tech companies are the one actually need a lot of
They
automation.
need this more. Okay.
Yes, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now Suraj says, thanks Ajeevan. You are spot on. Usually a lot of people think they are really busy at work, but what actually happening is their time is wasted doing non-productive manual work, which really
Yes,
don't contribute to the overall profitability of the organization.
I
Right?
totally agree with you.
I know.
I
So
totally agree with you on that.
this is the problem. I mean, people don't know.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's not that they are not interested in knowing? They don't know this. Where is this knowledge? I'm still wondering now, right? Oh, let me ask you this: is automation new?
Automation is not new. Automation started, I think it started growing after the Industrial Revolution. So, starting from Ford's assembly machines to, automatic washing machines, water heaters, and everything. So they understood the value of time because probably they actually, a lot of things are destroyed in war and they don't have enough time and they can't wait for a long time and their economy is going to collapse. And anyway, it's already collapsed, but they need to build it up much fast. So
Faster.
they understood the value of time. So people started to think, businesses started to think, okay, how can I save time by doing something or doing some sort of activity that will save time? So then that's where the automation started. And from the industrial revolution, mechanical machines and all that, now it's completely digital after the internet came into the play. So, now there's a tool for everything. Even before, they had to build that tool, manufacture, and then, they had to find a purpose and, markets and everything. Now you build the tool, the market is getting created.
Yeah.
So it's not new, but it came from very long back. But now it's accelerated because of all the connectivity and then the internet and all the digital tools that we have. That's what it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question is, I really don't know whether market is ready. When I say market is ready,
Yeah,
market is definitely ready in terms of I'm talking about somebody's thinking pattern.
yeah,
Whether
yeah,
whether the market or the consumers or the B2B organizations are ready to accept this fact that they are wasting time, that this could they could save a lot by way of automating. Right?
yeah,
Eventually, the competition
yeah.
and the cost will definitely show them eventually. Yeah. Okay. So Asanka he has again another question. Could you please suggest a learning path for non-tech people who are interested in automations
So for the non-tech people, in terms of automation, I think
to learn
they can
automation?
start within. They can start within first. So they can actually start from identifying what's wasting their time on a day-to-day basis, and then they can identify, okay, if I do this in this particular way, that will save my time. So they need to design that, their own work. First they start design their own work, and then they go find, okay, what are the tools available for me to make this do faster? Can I do it in Excel, or can I do it in Airtable, or can I use a no code tool? Then it will come naturally because, like I said, the technology is a facilitator. First you need to understand what you need to do to save that time. Then there are enough tools on the internet, you can use it and you can go for it. So I think for non-tech people to start automation, start within. Start thinking about what you are doing, what is wasting your time, how can you save time on that.
I'll tell you, this is funny, but
Yeah,
it's fact.
Yeah.
I used to forget my wife's birthday, you know.
Okay. Right.
So I was looking at a way to automate it. I put it on Google Calendar.
Calendar. Exactly. Right.
Yeah, but then now she says, "Hey, look, I think it's the Google Calendar."
Yeah. Right. So now, actually, that saves you. That saves you. I mean,
Lot of trouble.
yeah. Happy wife, happy life. Simple
So
as that.
Asanka, I like the fact that Sajeevan is mentioning you. Start with you and
Yeah.
see what you could automate around you,
That's right.
even in your own office. See whether there are things that you could automate on your own. That would lead for you to go and look for tools. There are a lot of tools available free of charge, maybe, where it could help you to automate stuff.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. I think we are getting into a very interesting part of the question, the whole session. Now,
I'm
since
loving it.
yeah, since we need some examples,
Yeah.
I would like to bring in variety of examples, maybe two or three
Yeah.
examples where
Yeah.
we can uh, uh, see how automation has helped somebody or it could help somebody. Would you bring us some good examples?
Okay, so I'll give you a good example of this is something that I really loved how it panned out. So 2 years back, we actually started developing an HR system,
Hmm.
and this is a little bit of complex. I'll come from a complex, and then I'll go to a more simplified this one. So how
Yes.
far I can go. So we started to build a HR system, and then we started to build a finance system, right? So they are parallelly developed. They are now the departments are helping, and it's going up. And when it comes to payroll, the problem is now we have this HR system which contains employee records, their bank information, right? And all that information. And then we have the finance system, which actually records all the, payroll sent and all
Transactions.
that. Yes, transaction, all that. Now, the problem is the HR department generates all this information and then transfers back to the finance. They take that information, they use an Excel sheet provided by the bank, right? And number one, it's macro enabled, and you have to fill the bank details, employee number, employee details, the final amount. Then you have to double, triple check everything. Then you click on a button, it will generate a temp file, right? That file you send it to the bank, they will automatically do the bank transfers. Now the problem here is now these two systems are independent, right? Now
They are
this
not talking to each other.
HR, yeah, there's no connection. So the HR person generates the employee details, gaining different information, their OT, their no pays, and all that. And then they generate a separate report. They take that Excel file, they send it to people, get approval, and then they send that back to the finance department. And finance department look at that sheet, and then they open the other sheet. They put all the employee numbers, their details, their bank details, final amounts, and all that. That takes finance department, HR department 2 days, and finance department another 2 days, right? So on a last week of every month, that 4 days is wasted only for that one process. So what we did, okay, we thought about right. So the problem with HR is that they also have a manual process of getting his OTs and no pays and everything calculated, right? So what is the direct access point that we can have to calculate that? That is the fingerprint device. So every company normally has the fingerprint device. Now these fingerprint devices naturally not connected to the internet. We don't have a real-time access, but they give you
Yes.
they will allow you to download the file to a pen drive. Then what we did, we took the files, we allowed HR to upload that file to the system. Now, when we are registering the fingerprint, we register the people with their employee number. Now, this is the start, right? We made it complex later
Yes.
on. This is a start. So the employee number is with the fingerprint. So every time when the report comes in, we know, okay, this employee at this date came on this time, went at this time, right? And we did some calculations and everything. Then we let the system to decide based on the condition that we provide. Okay, this is an OB, this is an OT, this guy came late, right? All that information, system processes it, and every month at that right date, the system generates the payroll.
Okay.
Okay, that is given to the approval of the HR. Now HR is not entering anything, right? with using all the data that is coming into the system decides, okay, this is the payroll for the month for the entire 400 people.
Wow.
Okay, that is given to branch managers as well as HRs for approval. If they have any disputes, they will talk to each other and they will clear out. Now the data is ready. This is the employee number. This is the salary. These are the deductions. These are the additions. Here is the final amount. Now that part is done. We saved 2 days from the finance, so the HR,
Yes.
right?
HR.
Now finance. Okay, the finances problem is number one. They have to work with all this this bank provided Excel sheet. Now,
Yes.
number one, when you double click and open that Excel sheet, it will scare the people because it says, okay, you are opening a macro enabled file. It can contain malicious fund. Do you want to continue or not? Right? The experience is gone at that point. Okay. So now they open the file. Now they have to take all this information, right? Copy to the columns, paste everything correctly because that file has very strict line endings and all that. So they have to fill them correctly, double check, triple check, and then they have to generate the file. And then they have to attach, they have to write a letter, get a signature, and then scan that, send it to the bank. Now that takes another 2 days to process everything, right? Now we took whatever the final amount from the HR, right, with the employee numbers because we have the bank records there. We
Yes.
moved that data to finance. We showed all the approved salaries. Now what they have to do is select all, press approve, and that file that was generated before automatically downloads along with the PDF. Right?
Mm,
That
mm.
that changed that 2 days of work into 10-second button clicks, get it, signed, and sent. Right. So that is one example that actually I loved the process because
Yeah.
how it panned out, it was really I enjoyed the entire thing. Right. That is one.
Yeah. Sajivan, now what we also forget here is
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
somebody wants a salary advance
Okay.
during those 2 days, or there is a letter that a bank is requiring you
Yeah. Yeah.
for you to obtain a loan.
Yeah.
Imagine me going and talking to the finance people in those 2 days, or
Yeah.
to the HR department. They are strained to the max,
Exactly.
and then you're not going to be happy about your own organization
Yeah.
because you think that you have been neglected, but actually what has happened is that all methodology of doing things have drained them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, you are, then you created one unhappy bunch of set of people.
People exactly, so that experience is that now what we have done, now we have this finance data, we are creating the bank account, so why not post all this information to the finance ledgers automatically, right? So they don't have to manually enter it. So now what happens is whenever they're creating that payment voucher, every record is properly posted to the correct ledgers. Done, saved time, right? And now since we have all that information, employees can download their letters that they need to give it to the bank. They have to download, print it, come to HR, sign it, and go, right? So that saved tons and tons of time, and I really enjoyed the entire process. Right? That is one. That is standard
So
business
that
operation.
organization, you said, uh,
Yeah.
organization with 400 employees.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we did
Okay.
it for ESOT, the
Okay.
one that I'm currently working from. So
Okay.
we
Okay.
have more than 400 employees now.
Yeah.
Even now, now our MD and the CEO, both of them are in abroad for business purposes, but that doesn't stop them from processing the payroll.
Processing anything.
Everybody gets it on time. So
Superb.
that is one. That is for
One
business purposes.
example.
One
Okay.
example. Second example, that is e-commerce, right? So I had a
Okay.
client in UK who wanted to do an experiment, right? He said, "I don't want to have any employees in my company. I want to try this, right? I want to
Okay.
be able to do this, but I have suppliers who have already automated their processes. Now this is an example how multiple companies automating their processes coming together, right? So his idea was, okay, I have my suppliers, they have APIs which will allow me to pull product information, product pricing, product quantity, which I can sell in my website. And also they have APIs to send order information from my website to them. And also they are providing me with shipping. So now those suppliers have automated their processes, and this guy want to automate his process, right? So what we did, We connected to all these APIs. We took products, because products you can identify using the SKUs and you can match and mix and match. And the system automatically downloads that every 15 minutes, no, every hour, updates the quantities of what they have. And whenever there's an order comes in, the system pushes the order automatically without any human interaction to the supplier. The supplier takes it and sends it to the customer, right?
Wow.
So that has removed that company still doesn't have any employees, right? So we make a
Yeah.
lot of improvements to the APIs and stuff, but still doesn't have a single employee. But the owner is running the entire store. What he does is he selects products, he downloads the product, the system takes over everything. The system checks the product, go to multiple suppliers, take their prices, and tag the lowest cost supplier to the product
Okay.
every time, right? Then when you issue the PO, it always goes to the supplier who has the lowest price. If
Okay.
multiple line items comes in, we divide that, we send it to different customers, different suppliers, right? So likewise, we automate it in such a way that is running with zero employees. Love that process also,
Amazing. So you
right?
have a
So
client. So I'm
yeah.
giving you a client.
Nice.
Seriously.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So
Okay,
there's that.
brilliant. So before we go to the third
Yeah.
one, so
Yeah.
Suraj is talking to Asank. Asank
Yeah.
Dilshan, I would like to suggest reading about BPM, business process management as a discipline. There's
Yeah.
enough material on internet and YouTube to start with. I think that's a good suggestion. Yeah.
Very good suggestion.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So Sajivan, let's go
Yeah.
to the third example.
Third example. This one also, it was very
You should
interesting.
start
Very
writing a
interesting.
book.
So 100 projects, no. so,
Yeah.
so this one was actually I remember it because it was really really interesting. This is it's a company in Bahrain. It was a manpower company which provides manpower for their governments, right?
Okay.
So for their government and other banks and all that. So there was one scenario. They actually presented with the challenge saying that, okay, we have people who are well versed in Excel. They know how to do the sheets, connect the columns, and do all that. Now we have this information in Excel, right? We think that if there's a mobile app that can feed information to this Excel, so that we can this is for a particular course. So what they wanted to do is there are ATM machines around the area that they're serving, right? So all
Yeah.
these ATM machines have a barcode or an NFC chip,
Okay.
one or other or both. So what currently happen is the security officers, they go to each and every ATM. They check, okay, ATM is working fine. We didn't find any malicious device inside there. The ATM was clean. The camera was working properly. We didn't see any other additional inserts in the card machine. So they check it every hour or every 2 hours, something like that. So what they do, they record it on a paper. The problem with that paper is that you can't analyze it, right?
Yes.
You can identify the how often the ATM is broken down, and how often we had issues, what is the rate of those, and you can analyze it with the paper.
So you
But they said,
basically
okay,
have data, no information.
no information. Exactly, right? We have data, but we don't have information. And there's a cumbersome process for them to enter that into the system, one by one into an Excel sheet and all that. What he said was, okay, we have people who are well versed in Excel. They can do analysis and everything when you have the data. We want a mobile app that can actually do this work. So our security staff should be able to take the mobile phone, go to each and every ATM, scan it or tap it, because with the NFC enable, you can actually launch a URL and then you can do that. So scan it and then they mark this information that should be populated on a cloud sheet, right? So that was the challenge. Okay, now you have this Excel people who are actually well versed in Excel, and then you have this requirement. Okay, we need to make a mobile app, but that should populate the information into the Excel,
Mm.
right? So we actually had we actually went on finding software, and then we figured out there are uh, software mobile app creation tools that can work with Google Sheet,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So what happens is that mobile app uses the Google Sheet as the database, right? And it's a drag and drop, what do you call, interface. So what we did, we took a sample app, we took a sample data and then we populated that in Google Sheet. We created a drag and drop interface, and then we created all the interfaces. And also, good thing is it can access GPS so that they are actually scanning that ATM at that correct place. Because otherwise, you can go home and scan. You can go home
Yes.
and mark it. So the GPS is tracked. So and it allowed them to take the photograph of the ATM at that time. You can't do it on the paper. No?
Yes.
So then we took all that data, we pushed it to Google Sheets, right?
Okay.
And we did a POC, proof of concept for that, and then trained their people how to do it. Now they have launched that across the company. Whenever they want to do something similar, the people are trained. Now they are doing it. Love that process also.
Okay.
So yeah, these are few examples of what we did on those days
Okay.
and still
So
doing.
you wanna talk about, I know it can be applied in any function,
Yeah,
on any function in an organization. Now
yeah,
you spoke about HR, payroll, finance,
yeah,
now field operation, right? In your opinion, like in the last, few months, if you look at,
yeah,
uh, what departments are mostly loving and falling into this automation thing?
yeah. I
I think you
I
didn't
lost
hear the
you.
question. Now, if
Yeah,
you
I
if you
lost you.
look at if you look at the recent projects, right?
Uh-huh.
What
Uh-huh.
departments are falling in love with automation mostly? Is it the finance
Um,
guys? Is it the HR? I know it's just a random question, but then what do you
yeah.
see?
We saw wherever there's intense time consuming process, any department that had very intense time consuming and painful processes, the moment they get the first taste of a proper automated system, those are the guys who is going to cling on to it. They will get hooked into it, and they will start giving you suggestions on how to make it better. That's a very good place to be in, right?
Okay.
So and they will feed you with their knowledge, right? They are doing a knowledge transfer to you. And now I know how this all these double entries, all these notes and everything, how it works, because I had to learn it. My team had to learn it to actually do it properly, right? So now
Yeah.
we are sharing our knowledge with each other. And those are the departments who actually immediately fall in love with systems, because they know the pain and they know the time they spend. They know the pain of working, late hours to get things done, and saving that time is what makes them hooked into a proper automatic system. But having said that, the moment you introduce the first test of a proper automated system to anybody, any department, you will see a spark, and then they will start collaborating with you in a more positive manner. So like I said, you need to open the headspace of people to make them creative.
Interesting. I think this session is not long enough for me to, I'm sure, imagine more than almost 100 projects of
Yeah,
this nature. Uh, as I told you, you better start writing your book. This
sure,
knowledge should not vanish with you. And then I'm sure we should meet over a coffee. Let's
definitely,
talk to
yeah,
each other and learn more from each other. Yeah. So,
always.
looking at a country like ours,
Uh-huh.
we are talking about digital transformation. And
Yeah.
then I can see, at least looking at the private sector, I mean, if we talk about government sector, I can see the kind of transformation that could come. That
Mhm.
much I can see. But at least if we talk about the private sector, the role of automation in transforming the country digitally, you have anything to say on that?
Normally, when it comes to current private sector of Sri Lanka, is now there's a positive change, even in small and medium enterprises, so that they also now have identified the need of
Realized.
saving time. Yeah, realize the saving time, because time is always money. Time, if you lose it, it's gone. So now they are starting to realize, and they are coming up with different ideas, different way of doing things. And now, for example, in e-commerce, right? Let's say in e-commerce, those days there was a notion that okay, you get a server, you had to install this software, and you had to do this and everything. But now you have Shopify, your big commerce, all that. Now there's a these businesses, retail businesses in Sri Lanka now starting to adopt Shopify. There are challenges, but there are also solutions like Pay Here, which actually has a Shopify plugin allowing them to do the payment. So
True.
likewise, slowly these businesses are now going into using these tools and automating themselves. And what's important for everybody, even if it's private sector or the public sector, data accuracy is super important for automation, because it's always a chain reaction, right? If you fail at some point, if you have a deep automation somewhere, and if it fails, it's going to create a chain reaction. So having accurate data in for your companies, your needs, protecting that data, protecting user privacy, and then making use of that data that you are collecting to automate your processes is key. So I think the government also they have to get the fundamentals right. So how do you identify a citizen correctly? Do you have any interface in a centralized manner that when you do a NIC, that is going to give you a history of a person or the places they have been to, right? Can you verify that automatically so that it's not a hassle for them, so that when they go to different places, you need always need the grammar certificate, right? So
Mhm.
you don't have to. If you have a proper authentication, proper verification method, you don't have to. But actually, I think the government is also coming up with different options, because recently
Yep.
I went to elections.government.lk. So I wanted to change my electoral, what do you call, the GS to Mathali through a permanent address. So all I did was I went and filled the form. Within about 5 days, the Gram Sevak has gone to the place, my
Verify to
and
verify.
yeah, verify this one. So it has happened. There is some sort of a workflow, a positive workflow. But the problem is, because of with all this negativity, these kind of small positivity is not coming out. That is the main problem. So, but things are happening, but in a very slow pace. I think government need to speed this up, and government need to get collaboration from the industry, because Sri Lanka has one of the best set of professionals in technology who are serving outside the country. They are bringing
Yes.
in foreign income and everything, but still the government need a proper framework to include them, everybody here, to share knowledge and then improve these processes. Then it will work. But I think
Okay.
there's definitely a positive change, especially accelerated by COVID-19.
Okay. Right.
COVID-19 was
So
a curse and a and a
yeah, it's
blessing
an
also.
opportunity as well for those who are
Yes.
looking for opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this. Some people will see a problem in every uh,
Yeah.
opportunity, and some will always see a solution in. I mean, you see it as an opportunity, and you see a solution in
Yeah.
it. So,
Exactly.
my next question. I mean, I really enjoy this whole conversation.
I'm
My
loving
next
it.
question is: who are the stakeholders in an
Mhm.
automation project? Who gets involved?
Yeah. So in an automation project, most of the time there's a myth that you create a small requirement and you give it to an IT department and they have to do it everything and come back to you and automate everything. It doesn't work like that, right? So the stakeholders of an automation process is always starts from the bottom, the direct beneficiary of that automation. It can be a department, it can be a person, it can be anyone, right? So that's normally going to the all these department who are doing actually operational work.
Yes.
But that the feedback from them is very important for any successful automation, right? You can't just create an automation and give it to people and start using it, right? There has to be a rationale behind it. There has to be something that you identified that has to come from either the department or the superior that who is managing the department, right? And also the top management has to involve in that automation process, because they are the ones who are going to see the goals of that automation, or the end result that can benefit to the company or the business. So everyone from the top management, everyone in the triangle has to involve in an automation process. It can be selected people based on what automation you are doing. For example, if you are doing a very intensive finance automation which is nothing to do with HR, there's no point of getting that HR department involved, right? But if it is a payroll, then both of them are very important, because these part of them have one information, part of the information, the other guy has the other information, so they have to collaborate with each other.
Yes.
But the top management and all the executives who are directly involved or affected by that automation should involve and then give their inputs, so that that automation actually serves everybody collectively in that organization. Because we need to remove that myth that, okay, I need to get this done, let me give it to outsource IT organization or an internal IT company, let them do everything so that I'll see the end result. It won't work like that. It's a process. It has to start small. Everybody who is affected by that particular process should involve, and then grow it until it becomes a very effective, deep integrated systems.
Okay. So now with the cloud computing,
Yeah,
uh, most of these automated tools are running uh, using cloud,
yeah,
cloud facilities.
yeah.
So the role played by IT is becoming less in the whole process. Now, I think when the systems were on premise long ago,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean anything that is coming new is going to be a burden to IT department.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So, so to give you a little bit of perspective, so I think sometime I will be able to change the perspective of people regarding IT departments. So sometimes you might get a idea about these IT departments. People are very adamant. They always say no to you. And they are very reluctant to do a change. But on the other hand, when it comes to IT, when you are developing something, when you are building these automations and everything, the thinking pattern is completely different because you need to take something that is, most like human oriented. Think about all the factors and then make sure that whatever the implementation that you're doing is working properly, right? For that, um, uh, the other side, the other stakeholders of that process need to provide them with clean instructions or clean processes or well defined and designed processes. Because the moment an IT department or an IT guy or a software engineer or business automation person like me, when we see that clarity, giving the solution is much faster, right? And it is stress free. Because if there's incomplete information given to an IT department, right? Number one, the solution will be incomplete. Number two, there will always be breaking and rebuilding, and that will make the IT department stressed out, right? So naturally, it's normal for IT department to always be stressed out with you, but you can actually change that by collaborating with them and making sure whatever the instructions or processes or any requirement that you are giving is clean and clearly defined. That will improve the efficiency of the IT department, and you will get the solution much faster. That is what I saw and what I think should be done.
Okay. Brilliant. So I have one more question.
Awesome. Yeah.
Probably that could be the final question. Uh, that is basically, where do you see automation is moving towards? We talk about machine learning, AI, uh, maybe intelligent automation too. There are so many terms, right? And then you on the other side, you also talk about blockchain and other technologies. Where do you think this, with your experience, where is automation heading towards?
I think the automation is heading toward a bright future, and with all these tools, and definitely AI, machine learning, and AI is going to rule the world in about very soon. Because even now we have conversational artificial intelligence that's built by Google, and you won't see the difference between a human talking and the
Yes.
and the AI is talking. So we have come to that point. So AI is going to improve a lot of a lot of AI is going to remove a lot of mundane tasks from humans, and then this machine learning and big data is going to give us a lot of insights that we can make a lot of informed decisions, so that sometimes where we should be able to live in this planet in more greener manner if we have enough data that is showing these things are happening, right? With coexisting with the nature. That is one.
Yes.
I mean that is very important because ML and AI, if it is used properly and if this data is converted into proper information, and then if people can make informed decisions better and better, more and more, we will have a better planet. And but the thing is, if in order to do that, to get those information and process those information, make informed decisions, people need to build their skills to coexist with those technologies, because the current generation, us, need to push the next generation to that point. There's no point working on legacy,
Resisting.
or no
No
point,
point
yeah,
in resisting.
resisting. There's no point in resisting. You have to coexist with that. But the skills of the next generation should be able to process what's happening with all these, automations and AIs and everything, but to coexist with them and make the planet a better place to live. So that's what their goal should be. And their skills should be aligned with supporting that AI and ML efforts, and then meanwhile they grow themselves. Because if you are stuck in legacy, and if you're stuck in old tech and things that are going to die soon, there won't be a future. So you will come to the back of the pack, but it's our generation's responsibility to push the next generation to make sure that they actually live a sustainable life with all these automations and everything happening around.
Wow, Sajeevan, thank you very much. It was a very, what can I say? I really enjoyed the
I
conversation.
loved it.
And yeah, I know. And, there's a quite a bit of fans who are, still staying with us, watching this. So what I do is every week I offer somebody a book,
Yeah.
courtesy of Pick a Book.
Right.
This is
Awesome.
this famous book reading club.
Yep.
And of course, there's no competition here. I randomly choose somebody who deserves, who asks questions. So uh, it is Asanka Dilshan Senarath who asked us a lot of questions about, I
Yeah.
can see that he would be getting into automation. He wanted a lot of information. So
Awesome.
Asanka, you get a book, a self-help book by courtesy of Pick a Book. Just visit their website, www.pickabook.club, and see how they are transforming reading in this part of the world. And of course they have their branch network in places like Singapore, UK, and other countries as well. So please make sure that you drop in your email address, your mobile number, and the home address so that we could deliver you the book. And then Sajeevan, somebody has just joined us from nowhere. You know whom? You can guess. Okay, we have Enosh Praveen, two young gentlemen who passed driving license with manual gear, talking about automation.
That's classic Enos. Thank you, sir.
At least, see, we are very moderate. We are willing to change. Enosh,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, okay, soon we will get you a manual car to drive. They say real men drive manual cars. Anyway, with that, today's session is concluded, and thank you very much, Sajeevan, giving our audience an opportunity to learn the basics and advances of automation. Okay, I think Asanka is still here. Thanks a lot, Sajeev and Namita, for this valuable session. Yeah, please make sure you send me
Right.
your details to our inbox.
Yep. Thanks for your
Sajeevan,
feedback.
any last words to the audience?
I always say this to everybody: just do what you love to do. It's the only way to achieve greatness.
Okay, thank you very much. So, everybody, we are still uh, with the pandemic. So, be careful in going about your daily life and follow the protocol and stay safe. And we will meet again on next Thursday at 8:30 p.m. with another expert. Thank you very much and good
Thank you
night.
for having me, Miss Anita. Thanks a lot.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Bye.